This meeting is being recorded.
Hello, research team. Global
Hi.
team greetings.
Hi.
Hi, hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Thanks for joining me on a summer night here. I appreciate it. I'll give folks a couple seconds to log on yet. Good seeing all of you here. So I thought I'd talk about just where we are with a couple of our projects. I'll go over the agenda I sent out in a little bit, but I want to just give you some introduction where we are, what kind of help I need. So we have our two students who are with us right now, Christina and Charisma. Christina in Hanoi and Charisma in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. And they're doing the USAID study we've done, the past 2 years in other countries. And they're now at the point of collecting data, which includes, you're probably familiar with it, the PIP for integration level in a clinic, provider survey about the perceived need for behavioral health consultant services for a number of common health conditions or behavioral health problems, and a patient health risk assessment. So the challenge is they're both off to kind of late starts for a variety of reasons, but they're finally going. Christina going right now, Charisma about to go. And they're going to be collecting data. And we need to have that data entered into a spreadsheets and analyzed quickly because we're having some review meetings scheduled when I go to Vietnam and Cambodia next 2 weeks. So I'm really looking for help for volunteers from this group to work with them to take PDFs they'll transmit electronically, enter the PDFs into an Excel spreadsheet set up by Jen Rolfo, also on the line right now, and just help do that and fast track that over the next 2 weeks. So I'll be looking for volunteers tonight or certainly just by email when the meeting's over for those who can't attend live. That's my biggest priority because it's so time sensitive.
Okay.
Yes.
How many surveys are they doing each this year?
I'll cover that both of you on your own. You can introduce yourselves, Christina and Charisma.
Okay.
Sure. I'll go first. So I am doing 3 different sites this year. So there's Phnom Penh, Kampong Cham, and Siem Reap. And at each site, I am hoping to collect 30 patient surveys, so 90 altogether, and then 20 between providers and administrators, so 60 provider surveys and PIP reports. Roughly is what we're estimating for each site.
Okay. And I'm forgetting how many questions. This is Lori Signorelli, so I'm just trying to imagine exactly what we're entering on the spreadsheet to gauge how much that would be in terms of time.
This is Jen. I can answer that quickly if that would be helpful, but Christina or Charisma, feel free to as well. So for the provider survey, there are 23 questions and 2 versions of them. One is, what are the most common problems you see and what are the most common problems you want assistance with? For the PIP, there's 6 different domains with between 2 and 6 questions per domain. And then the HRA, I believe in total, let me pull up a spreadsheet really quick. It is probably, let's see, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, 15, 24. Probably about 35 to 40 fields that would need to be entered.
Okay.
Hey, this is Karu. Did we change the questionnaires from last year at all?
The HRA changed a little bit. The PIP and the provider survey have not changed.
Okay. So I entered all of mine for Chiang Mai and Cambodia myself. And I'll tell you, Phnom Penh took me, and I had, I think, nearly 100. And that took me about 6 hours, just to give an idea of how long that would take. And that was, I don't remember how many providers. I had one PIP, like 30 providers, and I think 100 patients.
Okay. That's helpful to know. I mean, I could probably assist Lori Signorelli if you need some help. Yeah.
Thanks, Lori.
And this is Karu. I'm happy to help as well. I can, yeah, I can help.
So can I.
Thanks,
And
guys.
just as an FYI, thanks to Christina being super diligent and sending me every single issue that was going on with drop downs or the order of data entry. Everything should be a lot smoother now. The drop down should have the right categories. Everything should be in the correct order. So when you're entering a PDF file, like you should literally from top to bottom of the PDF just be able to move from left to right on the spreadsheet. And so it should be a lot smoother. I know we had a lot of inconsistencies between HRA instruments before, which I've kind of worked to streamline just to make your guys' lives easier, but also to make my life easier when I'm aggregating different sites in different years and all of these things. It's easier to just be able to stack them and have all of the same information flow. So I'm happy to discuss with any of you who are interested in entering data. We could just have like a quick tutorial at any time you're available, or we can do it on this call if there's time.
Either way works for me.
So I'll help identify the final group, but certainly Eric, Lori, Karu, thank you very much for volunteering. I'll look for maybe a couple other folks from those who aren't here live. I think if we have 5 or 6, it makes the amount of work for each one relatively manageable, would not be a huge burden.
Yeah.
So, and it'll come in waves. First, we'll have the Hanoi ready right now. Then we'll have the Cambodia coming in waves from each of the 3 sites.
Okay.
Thank you all for volunteering to help. I really appreciate that.
Yes, thank you so much.
So let me go over the agenda. I'm not going to share the screen right now. You have it in front of you. I think I'll just kind of walk through so I can still see you as I'm talking. So I shared with you before a link to research articles. That one is still, should be working for all of you. It's my own list of research articles for international research that I've developed over the years. I shared a new link, International Research Team. And this is a busy set of folders, right? So I'll direct you to the ones that are most relevant week by week or month by month here. You can explore if you want, but without having some guidance, it can be a bit overwhelming. There's so much in there. So I'll be very specific on what to look at and where to go. So I try to use the approach of giving you links for the different folders rather than have you fish around yourself. So we have current grant applications. The USAID DIV one is the most important priority. I'll update soon a new draft of this document, but it's basically our approach to taking the smartphone app BeWell24 developed by Professor Matt Booman and ASU College Health Solutions, translate that into at least 3 languages, Thai, Vietnamese, and Khmer in Cambodia, and then develop the smartphone app to be used for diabetes and hypertension with a provider clinician portal. So the USAID DIV grant, it's in 3 phases. The first phase is relatively low funding, $200,000. So all I'm going to be doing in that grant proposal is writing up a proposal to have us take the actual content from the app and translate it. We're not going to actually put it back in the app and make it functional. We couldn't afford to do it with $200,000, but we can certainly translate all these pages of instruction, detail, code for the patient-facing version in Vietnamese, Thai, and Cambodia. Then we can go ahead in phase 2, and that's a bigger fund, I think $500,000 a year. We can use that to develop and test the app in the smartphone, add some more functionality beyond what BeWell24 currently has, and then move in the 3rd phase towards AI application. So it's a big multi-phase grant. you have to get the first phase before you can be able to go for the second and third.
Yeah.
So, the help I need on that, by the way, is simply literature review, looking at for type 2 diabetes in particular and hypertension, what is the epidemiology in each of these three countries? And by that I mean certainly the epidemiology in terms of prevalence, incidence, but also comorbidities, looking into utilization and cost in each country. That'd be the first part, more of a descriptive literature review.
Mhm.
Secondly, what's treatment as usual? What are they doing right now, most common in these countries? And it's going to be mostly pharmacology as the first and only line of treatment in most of these countries. And then next, what are the any behavioral interventions being done, whether it's collaborative care, health coaching, and or technology being used for these problems. You're going to find, a lot, for example, in Thailand, a good amount in Vietnam, not as much in Cambodia. So I'll need help. I'll likely learn from volunteers for doing literature reviews. One of our members of this group, Mika Smith, who lives in Israel, can't join us because it's too early in the morning for her right now. Thank you, Mika, for all your help. She's been doing some initial work on this. She put together updated search on literature reviews for epidemiology and treatment in all three countries. She started working on a research literature review on interventions for Vietnam, and I'll be directing you to her work and having you guys expand on it. But I'd like to have like one volunteer for each of those countries to do a literature review with the same approach, so we can have consistent approach to writing these up and using these for the grant application for USAID DIV. Let me stop. I'll take one thing at a time and answer questions. Any questions about that? That's the open grant. There's no date, but I want to try and prioritize getting this application behind us. And also we can use the same application approach for other grants I'll describe in just a moment. I should also mention, Mika, when she did the literature review, the literature search, she found many articles she couldn't access. She no longer has an ASU account. She can't go onto PubMed and get the ASU access. So I have a spreadsheet put together. I'll look for a volunteer to go on that spreadsheet. And she has articles listed, author, journal, dates. You can use that to find the article on PubMed and download it and have the actual PDF in our library. So I'll look for a volunteer for that too. And for the folks who are online, don't think that you have to volunteer for everything right now. If you want to volunteer, fine. Don't feel pressure. We have a big group here, 34 people, so I'll try and fast track working on who's doing what. The other grant we'll work on is due in the fall on patient adherence to treatment. Adherence is the key focus for that grant. The major focus will be for us type 2 diabetes and perhaps hypertension also. That one we'll work on more after we get the one done for USAID. That'll be followed by one in November that's due. It's called Global Brain and Nervous System Disorders Research, but really has a major emphasis on depression, all the kind of problems like that that are common, chronic behavioral problems. So I applied for that in the past with Peking University, and we focused on a proposal to do a substance use disorder intervention in Beijing. That was not accepted, of course, but we're going to try again, and I might change gears to use a different team this time than Peking. And then last of all, there's a new opportunity. If anyone wants to volunteer for it, it's simply an offer to publish an article about international research by OBSSR. You can follow the link. It's a relatively small article. I'm not sure we'll be accepted for it, but it's nice to get recognition in PR. If someone wants to take that on, I'll be happy to help coach them on applying on doing that. It can be basically running our USAID project to date as that opportunity for that paper. So that link is there also. And if you haven't had time, you can explore these at your leisure between now and next meeting or when I look for volunteers.
Okay.
That one is due July 31st, though, so it's pretty quick to get a volunteer if we're going to do that one. We need some help pretty soon. And these are all available, these grants, in the International Research Team folders. And I will share a screen to show how to access that and where to go for these things when we finish up today. So the call for volunteers, the first thing I have is any one person or more than one who wants to volunteer to be a project manager. I'll define that. a number of people in the survey volunteered to be project managers. A project manager is a person that keeps track of, obviously, a project, key deliverables, keeping, like examples, project management spreadsheets or even Word docs of what deliverables due, who's responsible for it, when's it due by. And not to do the work, but to help manage those who are assigned to do work, get it done in a timely way. So it's more, to be honest, reminding, pushing, prompting, using your interpersonal skills to get people to do things they promised to do already, and having a way to document that. So anybody that has experience doing project management, using Excel is really a good tool. That it can be one person or more than one. It can be one to start off with. It can manage projects that are focal. So if you have one person managing, for example, the project to get USAID data entered into the spreadsheets, that'd be a great project management approach. They could join that team and help document who's going to do what when. The same thing for the USAID DIV grant. That'd be a nice opportunity to have another person do that one. So it can be an individual who wants to do multiple projects if you have the time, or simply carving out and doing one project at a time. That's also fine. It probably makes more sense to do one project at a time. I think taking on too much would be too challenging. And we can certainly have me be overseeing all the projects, tying them together. And at some point, perhaps having another person volunteer to be a meta project manager for all the projects based on how our needs develop.
Dr. O'Donnell,
Yes.
do you want volunteers during this call, or should we email you? Is that more efficient?
Right now is great because people say stuff right now. I have names. I'll put
You have recorded proof. No, I was just looking for the data entry. It probably makes most sense for me to be the project manager for that, only because I'm intimately familiar with the data. And also, I can kind of keep up with what's going on with Charisma and Christina, since we already have a pretty good working relationship going. So if that's something you want me to take on, I'd be happy to.
Thanks for volunteering. Yes, without doubt, you're a great person for that. Thank you for volunteering. Appreciate it. If anyone wants to volunteer for the USAID DIV project, that'd be a nice grant opportunity to have some work on, to manage that work. Let me know now, or I'll email folks later on. Don't feel like you have to catch anything right now, but if you want to, go ahead. The other ones can wait. I think the patient adherence and the global brain nervous can wait till later on until we have more work ready for those two. How about, yeah, go ahead.
It's Lori Signorelli. I am interested in project management right now. Unfortunately, for the DIV thing, if there's a very short timeline, it's probably not the best month for me.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I open up a little bit and can take on something that's needed.
You might be a good person then for the that PA 18722, the adherence grant, which is due in October.
Yeah.
That'd be cooking like in August. I'll get busy with that one.
Okay. Yeah, I would be interested in that. So.
Great. I'll put you down for that.
Can you give us more, this is Carew, sorry. Can you give us more information about the summary paper? How long do you think it'll be, and how much effort in terms of time?
I just got this URL today. It's a great fit. Let me pull up I'm going to share my screen now. Hang on for 1 second. So here's the home page. So NIH, Office of Behavioral and Social Sciences Research. If we get something published in NIH and get some recognition, that's obviously great for the applications we're doing. So looking for a list of impactful public health social science research papers. Here are the guidelines, the title, the keywords, the accomplishment and impact. contributions to interventions or policies that resulted in this accomplishment. Here's the evaluation process. I'll go back here and look at the submission guidelines. Oh, they're right there. That's as far as I got looking this over today, so I'm now pressing let's get started and see what happens. Here we go. Here's a good project manager tool, the campaign countdown, 22 days, 5 hours, 36 minutes. I like that.
Mhm.
So this is Kurt. I'd be interested in participating in working on that.
Mm-hmm. That'd be great, given your role in the past managing all the projects, Caruso. I appreciate that. You can just do some exploration of this site in more detail, because they have other existing ones already posted.
And get an idea. Yeah.
And if you need help getting updates from me and Jenna on recent analyses overall, but just get the description already from the proposal we did for NIH, you can use for the
Right.
IRB. I mean, you can use that.
Okay.
And after you have a chance to look it over, let me know if you think it's feasible, what you want to try and work on, if you need some help on it.
Okay.
I
Got
guess
it.
you can also dovetail things. If ever having folks literature reviews for Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, might actually be putting into this proposal too, but I have no idea about this. But this might be 1 or 2 pages. It might be 20 pages. I have no idea. But thanks.
Yeah,
For,
I'll look into it and I'll get back to you within a few days.
great. Any volunteer to look at the Excel spreadsheet that Mika Smith created and find those articles through PubMed or something similar?
Dr. O'Donnell, this is Kasha Gilpatrick. I'll be more than happy to do that.
Fantastic, thank you. And I'll direct you. I already have the link, I think, in the paper. I'll give you an email afterward on how to do that.
Okay.
The Dropbox sheet location is there. When you open the Dropbox, the sheet looks kind of funky. You have to download that thing to actually see it in the regular form. Hang on 1 second. And who was that volunteered just now? I'm sorry, I didn't get the name.
Kasha Gilpatrick.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. So back to the agenda I shared. Literature reviews. Actually, I'll share my screen again now. It's more detailed. Hang on. Thanks, Yev. I see your text there. Thank you. So literature reviews, this is what I mentioned earlier. For all these grants, they're all going to focus on diabetes and or hypertension. So I could use the epidemiology piece. I gave some examples here. The Dropbox folder for our team has international research. Hang on 1 second, check that. That's the wrong link. I'll have to correct that. Don't use that link. That's the research team. I need to give you the research literature review for those articles. So let me check. So this is the actual, when you click on the International Research Team, I'll go over this right now. Here's the different folders. 2017 data, 2018 data are just our data. There's no need for you to go into that right now. That's more for data analysis purposes. We may have a chance to need help on that. Let folks know we aren't quite there yet. There's in this folder, data analysis, USAID, some analysis we already did. Preliminary, I shouldn't say we, Jen did preliminary analysis on that data. Forwarding grant 2018, you can ignore that for now. the one that you want to look at is projects. The projects folder, I'll open that up right now. This contains a lot of things that I'll need help on. So BWell 24 research, this contains many articles and grant applications for the BWell 24 smartphone app. These are written by Matthew Blumen's team. Fantastic, excellent detail. We need to have a person that knows technology help to pull information from those longer BWell 24 grant applications into a more condensed version that will fit our applications. So anyone has the expertise in apps, health tech, coming familiar with the BWell 24 research would be a big plus. You can see it, there are basically some published articles from Matt's team and also some actual applications for different grants. I'm gonna keep on going through this. Here we go. This is right. For those research literature reviews, current draft docs, that's the folder that's gonna have those in there. So I have Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam. Vietnam, Mika already started on that one, so she has a short article, 2 pages of Word doc about interventions for hypertension and type 2 diabetes. So looking for someone to volunteer to take on each of these countries to write literature review for Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam for hypertension and type 2 diabetes. The adherence grant I mentioned, that's in this folder right here, PA 18722 adherence. The one for research across the lifespan, this due in November, that's in here also, this PA 18836. USAID DIV, our current one, that's right here. And that basically includes a working draft and then some RFP and highlights that we're looking for. Wenwu Wang is a doctoral nurse at National University of Singapore, and she's developed a app for type 2 diabetes. The BWell 24 app is very well designed for an app that measures physical activity, sleep, nutrition, and sedentary behavior, and has some built-in algorithms for giving advice how to improve those behaviors. Her app is not sophisticated in some respects, but it does include type 2 diabetes algorithms for advice to the patient. It also includes a patient-clinician portal, so the patient and clinician can talk on the app as part of the program. So our goal is to combine her work with diabetes, extend it to hypertension, and merge that with the BWell 24 app. That's why I want to give you a look. She has a study here that's very simple. You can look at the study here, randomized. Then she has a couple of applications she's got for other grants that describe her approach in more detail, including the AI component. So again, just give you a sense of where things are in this folder. There's some things you can simply ignore for right now. Archive projects, ignore that. Miscellaneous docs, ignore that. But the ones I just pointed out, you can certainly look at those and browse around based on your interest. I'm going to stop sharing now. Going back to the agenda, I have nutrition screening and assessment. We use in our USAID research a very short screening questionnaire called Starting the Conversation, and we used only three items from the large 10-item scale, and we know that at least one is problematic. It's not well suited for international nutrition and physical activity. So with the BWell 24 app, it's got the nutrition component is called, it's like based on the My Plate model you've probably all seen. It has basically a plate that you kind of drag and pull different food groups to the plate rather than trying to enter all your actual food and nutrition every day. If you try and over the long term have someone enter their actual every meal, what they had, how many calories, you get very poor compliance. So the idea is using this My Plate approach to get better compliance. We're going to need for our grant applications to have a model to translate the USA Nutrition assessment and advice to the patient for each of these countries. And that's no small task because I can tell you from experience traveling in Thailand, Vietnam, and now Cambodia, the kinds of foods in each country are very different in many respects from the United States. And in each country, just like USA, different parts of the country have different types of food people eat. So we need to have someone figure out, look at what are the current nutritional assessment approaches used in each of these countries. You're going to find research on all countries about assessing nutrition. Is there any common approach we can find to use in all three countries? I think the starting the conversation is not going to be the right questionnaire, but I'm not sure what the right one is yet. I'm not a nutrition expert. So I need a person to help take on this particular aspect of the project. It's going to be a more important one. Anybody with nutrition background would be a good match for this project because it's going to really be looking at nutrition research and trying to look at assessments that are currently done and finding a best approach. And maybe we decide in the end we need a separate nutrition screen for each country. It might be the actual outcome. It'd be ideal to have one that makes sense for all the countries. Let me stop for a second. Any questions on that particular volunteer need? It should be a fun project. I've had, I've done some work on my own on this, but it's going to require a deep dive into that area. Next, I have on the agenda grant writing opportunities. So I mentioned one already. Number one is reviewing the Be Well 24 documentation and offering to rewrite that information for existing grants. Secondly, it might be the same person looking at AI, artificial intelligence for healthcare, especially for hypertension and type 2 diabetes, and trying to be able to translate what's being done out there already, which is it's exploding, the research in this area, how we can bring that into play to our grant applications for the AI component we plan down the road. And last of all, any application, any NIH application, et cetera, you have a very small number of pages to work with, and using graphics for tables and figures is critical for visual design and success. So if anybody has expertise doing a great job of developing tables and figures and graphics that can be then put into our Word and PDF documents, I'm looking for that kind of expertise in this group also.
Dr. O'Donnell? It's Jen again. So the project that I'm working on with Timo and with Roger and Matt and George Runger is very much aligned with diabetes and hypertension and the Be Well 24 app and so forth and so on. Mm-hmm. So maybe we could have a more significant conversation offline or about how I can assist with that, because what we're doing here probably applies in many, many, many ways. So no need to reinvent the wheel. As far as like algorithms and how we're approaching it and technology and everything. So just keep that in mind.
Happy to take you up on that, Jen. Our next meeting individually we can do that and talk about the opportunities and how to manage them both. They're both big projects, lots of moving pieces, and I do want to try and simplify things if we can to that.
Yeah, I think a lot of it applies. So we can figure out where there's synergies and where we still need help. Mm-hmm. But I think we can get a long way with what we're already doing. So
fantastic, thank you.
And those are the two diseases that we're focusing on for our POC. So
fantastic. And last of all, we have research publication papers, data analysis and reporting. They go hand in hand. So I mentioned this before. We have USAID data from 2017, 18, and now 19 soon. And I listed on the agenda all different countries. We're doing right now a concept paper. I'm working on that with Shiyu and Jen. We might use a volunteer to help on that project. It's going to describe the entire USAID study and just include some like demographics, our design approach for the rest of the data. We need one big concept paper to describe what we did, and then we'll do individual papers for each country, describing their specific results. We'll eventually do, after we get those done, a comparative analysis paper comparing one or more of the countries together to each other. That's really the big kahuna. Because this is a new data set, our first goal is to do the concept paper, then individually dive into each country, get a sense and feel for what kind of analyses make most sense for this data, Then when that's done for each country, we can begin talking about what the best way is to compare data and other papers coming out of that. That's one opportunity for people to be involved in. Second, I'm working with Shiyu to develop a review paper looking at, in China, research on depression and integrated care. So there's more and more research on that being done. Our goal is to write a paper summarizing what the current level of research is on that topic. And last of all, I have an interest in writing a paper on mindfulness for cancer. I did a draft already that was required for my conference coming up there. I do a quick paper for one of their nursing journals there. I'd like to expand that into a more vigorous peer-reviewed journal paper. So anyone interested in that, I can use help on that also. And these are all kind of in order of priority. The USAID concept paper, working on that right now. We'll follow that with the Thailand paper, then the Vietnam papers. So again, either now or offline, let me know if you're interested in these opportunities. And
I have something. So in the course that just wrapped up, I have very recently been doing a lot of research for issues in Thailand, specifically obesity and depression. But since I'm most familiar with that location, I'd be willing to take on projects where there's need in Thailand. So the literature review, anything else really that you might have a need for.
I'll take you up on that, Eric. Thank you. We have a deep file of articles from Thailand that I've collected over the years. And we have 2 sites in Thailand. One in Chiang Mai, we did 2 years, 17 and 18. One in Bangkok, we did 18 only. It makes sense, I think, to do a paper that's separate for each one because their healthcare systems are pretty different in some ways, how they deliver care and the sites we chose. So that'd be great to have. The same research applies to obviously the whole country. You're going to find in the research, like in any of these countries, differentiation between urban and rural areas. Healthcare outcomes are very different, obviously, in those respects. Otherwise, they're very similar, at least epidemiological point of view.
I was also interested in that the publication for the China research that you just brought up. So I'm interested in that one as well.
Great. You're on the list.
And Dr. O'Donnell, one more thing. Sorry, it's Jen again. I know I still owe you a Google Doc that organizes all these different papers so that we can start keeping track of who's volunteered for what. And I promise that's still on the way.
Thank you. I'm excellent at managing projects with a project manager reporting to me. I'm terrible at doing project management myself. So that's why I'm looking for volunteers here. The point I think Jen raises is for all these things, without good project management, what happens is they simply grind to a halt because we all have competing responsibilities, whether it's professional, academic, family, things that come up, just unpredictable things. And by keeping a detailed project list, it just keeps us all on top of what we are promising to do by when, so we can make sure we deliver in a timely way. There's a lot of work to do. And I'm happy to have you guys volunteering to be working on this. I think it's about to take off in a big way. And we're looking forward to having some publications come out of this. And, the big picture, as we do publications, we use those publications for NIH and other applications. That will in turn lead to a better chance of obtaining grants. And for anyone that wants to get involved in grants, even in funded lines, having opportunity to really expand your role over time. So the vision here is grand. We're at the starting point, but the work is significant. Best intentions are good, but without a good project plan, they fall behind. And I do want to see things being produced this year, not sliding in next year, still doing this. And to be fair, we've had great teams so far, and things are moving forward in a good way. I just want to give a word of caution that as you volunteer, keep in mind your own time, your availability, and if you ever get in a point you're on a project and you start having a hard time keeping up for something, a new situation comes in your life, let folks know with someone to step step in and, cover things for you in the meantime. That's not unusual. So just my preaching about the importance of project management going forward. I think as we begin moving forward into some real work into the summer and into the fall, we'll likely have more standing meetings of subgroups every other week, for example, to keep things moving towards completion. But for now, once a month is fine with this group until we start moving into subgroups. Let me think for a second. Other things I did not put in this agenda. I'm looking into one more grant I came across. I'm not sure we'll meet criteria for, so I'm not going to share it in detail, but it's basically a grant to fund student exchange internationally. And it seems ideal for us with one exception. It's geared towards the hard sciences. So it's very much been awarding technology, food science, environmental science things, that involve hardware or software, not healthcare. So I wrote to the program officers and asked them, would a health project be eligible? And they said, potentially. If they asked me to go ahead and put together a draft aim statement and run it by them, so I'll do that. And if they think it's worth applying for, that'd be a great opportunity to have lots of our Content Solutions students be able to do travel in a very major grant. So more to become on that if we have anything in the running for that. But right now we have plenty on our plate right now with anything else. So let me stop for a second. That was my goal for today. Are there thoughts, ideas people want to share, talk about, anything else you're thinking about doing right now? That's okay. My goal is to drive the ship here, and you guys are all the worker bees making things happen. I will say just a couple of things. As I did some recent updated research looking at integrated care in China, and was really pleasantly surprised to see 3 or 4 recent publications all with that focus. 2 really good ones. So they're actually in our China folder. If you're interested in that, I'll be doing kind of summarizing those. But it's clearly growing recognition in China about the need for integrated care. I recognize that globally myself just from my travels, but getting government recognition and funding is a different thing entirely. So I'm hoping that as articles are published and there's more research being done, we'll see more interest in funding integrated care globally, which should see more opportunities for us to do work together also. An area I've not explored, I should just mention one more thing I'll do for next meeting. I want to expand our grant funding targets to ones that might be might be less competitive than NIH and Forwarding Center. So you've all heard about the, Gates Foundation, the Clinton Foundation. These are other opportunities for funding that I understand are less rigorous, not as competitive as ones we're applying for right now. I've had no time to go and explore those myself yet. I look for volunteers down the road to do that perhaps and look for those other grant opportunities. I also mentioned last time I needed help on these small business loans available. I've outreached to our Office of Knowledge Enterprise Development. They have expertise in that area. I want to see if I can qualify for that with my company in ASU. So if that's the green, I'll come back and add that to our agenda too. Those are all grants where you have a small company trying to develop an entrepreneurial idea in collaboration with an academic institution and working together on that. So I need to find out if my company qualify and international work qualify. So the jury's still out on that until I get more detail. If you're looking around and find anything you think is worth bringing up, feel free to forward to me or the group ideas you're seeing for funding. That one idea I got today for that paper, one of my students sent me an email saying, this is pretty good, Dr. Now, what do you think? So let's expand our work. Let's stay focused on our current task, get them done, but don't feel shy about expanding different things we're finding. That covers all we're covered. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up today, folks. Enjoy the last class. Yes.
Just one thing. I just wanted to reiterate what Jen had said about for the training on the spreadsheet. So if you maybe can just send out an email with the people that volunteered for the data entry, and then just, I guess maybe an email to the group just in case anybody on the call that was not on the call wants to volunteer.
I'll do an
And
email.
then,
Yeah, I'll post this recording tonight, and I'll email tomorrow if I have a chance to hear it, and look for additional volunteers. I'll email that to the whole committee with you guys in the top saying, here's the current volunteers. If you want to join, let them know. That way, Jen, you
okay,
can project managing and scheduling a meeting, Jen, on your own without me waiting for me to get things going.
yes. And
Right.
then I think Jen was saying that way she can also do the tutorial with them like she did with us before we came over.
Yep.
On the spreadsheet. And then where do you want those, where do you want that information uploaded?
That'll
Once the,
Jen will cover that.
okay,
Yeah, I'll go ahead and email with Eric, Lori, and Carew and Jen to work on that project along with Charisma and Christina. You can start right now. You can always you can do your training now, record it. If anybody else joins, you can always catch up that way. You have data right now, Christina, right?
I do.
Yep. Okay, folks, thanks for all joining on live. I appreciate that. And for the folks who are watching the recording, thanks for your help offline. Look forward to meeting next month. I'm sure we'll have some talk about these projects in between now and then. I'll try and find a way to document who's volunteering for what in some kind of Google Doc with Jen's help, and assign the project managers to each of those, and do up a way to have our project managers document things they're doing in a systematic way that's comparable across other projects, just for ease of management. So I'll work out with Jen about that. And one more question. Lori, do you have good project management background skills?
Reasonable. Yeah, I mean, I run projects all the time, so.
It might take me just maybe have you join me and Jen just talking about what's the best way to document projects systematically and easily, right? I've seen, for example, Microsoft Project, that's too much, but we need something simple to document, probably can go forward. So I might try and schedule a meeting with you and Jen, talk about that, okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Great.
Sure. I think simpler is better, to be honest with you.
There's so many things. There's, Dropbox, Google, Trello, and they all pluses and minuses. So I'll defer to the experts. Something else, I don't have to create this 2 months from now. I'd rather do it now and build on it rather than doing it later on when it's messy.
Definitely.
All right, folks, thanks for all of your help volunteering today, and look forward to speaking to you next month, but certainly sooner for most of you.
Great. Thanks.
Have a good night, all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.